Wherever you are, welcome to Comics and Revelings with Aru to contribute. Now, the greatest contribution for for Marvel and DC, of course, was 1990, right? When the artists realized that, like like Todd and them, they were bringing all these money to. And I have looked at the history and the documentaries about it, how it all came about. So there's enough people out there who have made these documentaries about the history of Image Comics and what really pushed Todd to set it up, right? So not allowing the artist room to contribute, right? So in the 1990s, right, with the whole thing, with the guys walking off and creating their own thing, the reason was that here there were the artists like Todd, like Jim Lee, right? Artists like Todd, like Jim Lee, like who's there? Liefeld. There's one more I can't remember, but there's about 4 or 5 of them, right? And basically what happened was Todd's out there, or Liefeld's out there, and he sees one of his original pieces of work getting sold at Christie's, I think it was, or some sort of like auction house, and that money went, like about $30,000 went into the coffers of Marvel. He never saw one of them, and then I think somewhere in his brain went, that's my work, my original piece of work. So, like in India, I think it's even now, I'm not sure what the deal is, that when they pay you for the piece of work, they own it forever. They can do whatever they want with it. So they could, basically do whatever they want. And so there's not only is it now being sold for $30K into private hands, they still have the image to reuse, to do whatever. So you see like a whole bunch of like, Deadpool out here on everything you can think of, right? Don't know what I've got in front of me, but it's going to take me a while to get to it. But I have it, like I said, I have Deadpool t-shirt, comics, mugs, badges, pops, figurines. Do I have a Deadpool figurine? Not sure. Probably need one, but I'm slowing down my comic, on my toy collecting at the moment, because I'm trying to create, my own characters with the figures that I bought, with headless ones. So decided to just try to get, different heads to suit like the figures I bought, and then also the pegs. But but also, right, the comics were selling were because of the art on the cover and on the interior, right? And also the fact that he created, I think, I'm not sure if it was which page it was or which cover it was, but whatever it was, if somebody's paying you $30K, your value as an artist goes up, but they don't want to negotiate your contract at that point. Now, I understand, like, as a publisher, there's you sign a contract, you got to read your contract, guys, right? Really read your contract, right? Because writers don't have time to read your contract if it's your contract, right? Especially artists. Artists, I don't even like to read stuff, and got me into trouble last year. Actually, this year, it lost me $1,600 New Zealand. I should have put it through my lawyer first before I signed the contract, but there was a trust thing, and I thought, a well-established place would be trustworthy and not try to, ruin a volunteer group, right? A company that was doing volunteer work, they wouldn't try to ruin that company because, they didn't want to go under themselves. But yeah, so that was my fault. I should have just went to my lawyer and said, read this. Should I sign or not sign? but I forgot, and I was in the middle of stuff. You know, I was between two different things, and I was sorting out one contract, and I had this contract. I didn't expect to be, you know, screwed over. Kind of like sounds like the Montreal screw job wrestling for, you know, all your wrestling fans, with the brand Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. Anyway, so when you as an artist, you know, even if you're a writer, right? If you as a writer, you're looking out there going, well, you know, my work is selling more than sure. But then again, it's your contract, right? So they, rather than like, you know, these guys, I don't know what, I can't remember exactly what happened. They just went, you know what, let's go do our own thing. Let's set up our own company, sort it out. Of course, there was trials and errors, and you know, life all went back. Jim Lee ended up, you know, selling his stuff, which is like Apollo and Midnight, the Authority, and all that. I remember Wildstorm. Yeah, I think that's part of Wildstorm. Sold it over to DC, and look how long, you know, it's taken them to actually use a actual gay male couple, superhero couple, right? It was like 20 years. So you can see, it's, you know, companies, publishers are not really about what's in the comic. It's about, how do I get money out of it, right? How do I make money off what's out there? So it's taken them 20 years to realize, yeah, people are now accepting of it. The problem was, we've been accepted of that for 20 years. It's just DC being mainstream wasn't. See, Wildstorm could have always produced those Midnight and Apollo Authority, and you know, and the female, I can't remember the English girl, lady that's in there that I love very much. She's an amazing character. But that whole Authority is amazing series, you know. But whoever's writing it doesn't know how to write it well, you know, and it hasn't really worked. So you need people like Warren Ellis to write that, right? Because, you know, if I remember right, Warren Ellis basically came up with it or something. I might be wrong there. So let me just check it on Authority since I'm here. You know, the Authority. Like I said, I was going to talk about this Authority itself because they're going to, you know, they're going to make a movie about it. So let's see who created it. It was Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, right? So if you wanted to do freaking, you know, Authority, so create, you know, get the, not create, but get the, you know, the writers who, you know, came up with it, the creators who came up with it. So, right. So this is how long we've, 24 years, right? 24 years since the first issue of the Authority came out, right? Oops, sorry, where are we? Oh, you can see there, right? On the left, on the right side, under group publication information. So, right, Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, get those guys to work on it, right? But anyway, so you don't have them because guess what? You guys cancel them, right? You cancel Warren Ellis, and so you don't get that. But so it takes 20 odd years to get a, you know, to go, oh, you know what? Here is James Gunn. He can make something out of nothing, like he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Also, now that we've ruined all the other real characters who are now gay, but they're always straight, or lesbian who are always straight, or bi, they're always straight. Why don't we go and use the actual characters that are like that? Already established, not 24 years ago, right? Too late. So I think the problem here is because they haven't used them, right? It's going to be a hard sell. Only the people that will know, who will go and watch the Authority, are fans like me, right? Who grew up reading them. Although I think I came into reading it about 2004, so a couple of years later, right? But I've read every issue, if I remember right. Apart from some recent ones from DC. I even gave those ones a go, but just didn't have the meat, right? Kind of didn't have like the guts of it all. Like, just didn't feel like it was what it should be. I'm not sure if it was written by Warren there. I'm just going to make sure. excuse me, apologies. Yeah, see, like, so volume 4, right? 2008, right? Run by Dan Abnett. He's okay writer. I've enjoyed his run on other stuff, but not so much. So you can see here, you know, they even got Superman into it. Try to, you know, trying to put over, as they say, with the, you know, wrestling. But at the end of the day, you know, if you don't have the guys who created those guys and they're still alive to work on it, who's going to mentor those the guys who are trying to write it? Ain't going to work, right? And it's like me, like I have to when I'm working on my stuff, I have to keep working on a Bible timeline, all the background stuff, like, you know, this happens because of that, that happens because of that, that's who they're related to, that's their father's name, or, you know, that's the mother's name, that's the village they came from, all this stuff, right? Because you got to have all that. And if you don't have anybody there telling you all that, information person who knows all that, you know, you're not going to have it. But here's the other thing. So let's get back to this, what Gail said, not allowing the artist to contribute. So a lot of times, like as a writer, right, I go out of I don't not I go out of my way. I like to create what my character looks like as much as possible, like the costume, the logo, the hair. You know, I've always got it that that when Incredi-Girl is, you know, that when Incredi-Girl is you know, is flying around, you know, her hair gets pulled back, right? Of course, but she's always, when she's like just doing her thing, there's always going to be this little fleck here, right? Let me just see if I can get that off there so I can get to show you. So you can see, wrong hand, right? That hand. So you can see there, just not gonna there. So you can just see there's a little flick of hair, just a little fringe. That's, she always has that. So you will notice, like when she's standing around, so you notice that's here as well, right there, right? So that's in her, on her head, over the mask, and it's just a little thing that's got to be there as part of the thing that makes it stand out. It's just, you know, that's always there. It's kind of like just looking at you know, this updated version of Harley Quinn, right? So this new, I think it was like the Gail Simone design. So you know, we had like a red and blue. That was the thing with her. Now, let me see who else have I got. So the other thing is that you got to, you know, even though these characters have always gone through, you know, he's got different changes with new. This is, I think, this is the, if I remember right, this is the Ultimates, right? Or is it the New Avengers one? But so on, right? So you get costume changes, of course, but you always know what he's supposed to look like, right? And so when you, the other thing is, when I was creating a new costume for Incredi-Girl, I had ideas in my head what I wanted to, you know, her to look like. So I already knew like what the changes I was going to bring, but I also sat down with a friend who's a cosplayer, who's, you know, and who sews her own clothes, designs it up and all that, who I'll have probably this Saturday. Hopefully Lynette should be on the Saturday on a live stream with us, talking about her journey and her, because she's a gamer, trading card gamer, card gamer, you know, Magic the Gathering. I think she does Yu-Gi-Oh as well, but Flesh and Blood, you know, as well as cosplays those characters that she, you know, from Flesh and Blood. But she also, you know, I sat down with her over coffee, and you know, Jason was there, who's my friend, you know, and Lynette was there, and we're just talking about, hey, this is what I'm thinking. All right, so we designed all this new look. She looks great, right? But I just wanted to update it, like from what it was like 2007 to now, you know, 20 or 12 odd years later. Yeah, 12 odd years later. So, you know, because I wanted the character, the costume to work on the character. So I got an artist who actually, you know, designs clothing, right? A costume. But also knew what I wanted as well. So I put those two together. And, that's what because sometimes, the artist knows how to lay out the panel. That's their job, right? Each page, right? Right. Each page, right? Oh, that's the one I've got, number 8. So each page, they know how it should look. Like they have it in their head, and sometimes when you're writing it, you don't really know what it should look like, but how where the characters have to be, just to make it work. So case in point, I as a writer said, okay, this is how much bubbles are going to be here. And then also, not only, I described that there's a character, she's sitting down in front of a computer screen, right? That's it. But on the computer screen, excuse me, but excuse me. So on the panel, right? So she's sitting there like in front of a computer, and she's talking to the person who's like out there somewhere, who's an officer and so on. And she talks, so, but the way my artist had drawn it was that it was this way. So she was looking that, there wasn't enough room for the bubbles. So I didn't want to like do anything to the art itself to change it or cover over the art, like put bubbles over the actual artwork. So I just flipped it. For the story, didn't affect the story one case. Didn't have to be either way, but the artist had it that way. But I work with the artist, and I just went, oh, hey, I flipped it around because I don't want to go over your art, because I really appreciate what artwork, uh, as an artist, right? So I just basically flipped it. I said, is that okay? He goes, yeah, because he doesn't have to redraw it or do anything changes to it. That's working with the artist, and he had input into it. A lot of times, because I work with different artists, they have different inputs. Like we were doing a coloring recently for a page, and I thought, I actually realized I missed something, because in between like all the layers, I turned some layers off when I sent it across to Hugo to color. And then also on the script, when you just look at the script, it's different to what I had set up on the layers. And so between, talking to Kevin, who's an illustrator, and then talking to Hugo, I said, we missed something. Let me go check. Checked it. Between the two of them, they worked it out. They came back to me and said, okay, all right, we need to do this. Got it sorted. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the artist on the book, right? It is my comic, but I'm not the artist. It's my characters, but I'm not the artist. So I'm going to allow the artist to bring their own talent to it and their own skill set to make sure it works, because we're a team, right? Just like Greg Land, right? Working on these comics. He knows how it should be set up in his head. He knows what Chuck is writing, right? But he also knows what he wants to do with it to make it more interesting, right? Chuck's probably just going, oh, I look up something to learn, right? From page left, side left, right? But Greg's going, probably thinking, what's more impactful? Coming in this way, or do I do it the other way? It's coming in this way, right? Coming from, what do we say? Left to right. Because when your eyes direct, as Western readers of English, we read left to right, not like Asian, Japanese, and was it all Asians? I'm not sure. Japanese kanji, right to left, right, and up and down, so on. So your eyes go to the right first, so you'll be going, oh, and then so on, and you follow through. But if it was, a manga, he'd be going that way. It's where your eyes go, right? So when I look at when I'm reading internet, I look up here, that side, before I read that side, right? So then that side, so I go across. So it's the same, so that's kind of like, what artists bring to it. And I think what Gail is saying is, because she's worked with great artists, right? You know, especially like where are we here? So on her book, so she's worked with, who's here? Adrian Say, right? Yeah, Adrian South, right? Where are we? There we go. Adrian South on that one, and Ed Benes, Ed Benes, right, on that one, on the Death of the Family series. So, you know, you gotta, like, the team. At the end of the day, a comic is made up by a team. You know, a novel isn't, right? So you got to approach comics. Uh, if you're a writer, you got to be willing to like work with different artists, but you also gel with different artists in a different way, and you will learn that as you go along. I'm learning that for the last couple of years of what works and what doesn't work with who and when. So you got to let your artists have a say in what's happening, because they got to design all those characters and stuff and all this stuff. And if you just go, give me 20 people, and they go, that page is going to work, mate. That sort of thing. So hopefully I've made that not as complicated as, hopefully it's not as clear as mud, right? Right, so that's 3. So right, the next one is price point.